Thank you for joining us today on Life Inspired with Mo for our featured guest episode with Douglas Lyons.
Hey fam, thank you so much for joining us today. You guys know I'm always excited to bring you guests on the show. And today we have a very special guest, Douglas Lyons, here today. You guys, Douglas, he writes for television, for Broadway. He writes music, musicals. I've been to actually some of his plays that he has written music for, which was such an honor. Douglas also has an initiative called the Next Wave Initiative. He's the founder of that. It is it is actually an initiative that he has created. It supports young Black budding artists through scholarship programs that he has. So I am just so excited to have Douglas on and introduce you guys to him today. Douglas, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. It's a blessing to be here.
His smile is just so radiant and infectious, you guys, isn't it? I know you're all smiling now for no reason, just because Douglas is here. All right. So, Douglas, I wanted to start out. Of course, I follow you and look at all the things that you're trending in, and you're just doing some amazing work out there. And I would love to talk about some of your projects that you're working on currently.
For sure. So I have this musical, Polka Dots, the Cool Kids musical, which actually had a production, I think a virtual production at the Ordway. It was a part of one of their like summer intensives that they just had.
Mhm.
So they did like a little dedication to polka dots. I have a musical, Bo, the musical, which is an actor musician piece about this kid Ace Baker, who grows up with no father figures and finds out at 12 years old that he has a grandfather who's been alive his entire life, and his mother knew about it. And so he has a 5-year journey with this man who gives him music and legacy and love, and then passes on. And you get to see this man share his music with his band, who he named after his grandfather. So that's Bo.
Amazing.
5 Points, which debuted in Minneapolis at Theater Latte Da, which you got to see,
Yes.
is now in development with Hamilton and 3-time Tony Award winner Andy Blankenbuehler. So those are
Awesome.
the more theatrical projects. I am now working on my first television show as a staff
Yay.
writer. That happened during COVID, which was a blessing, like that I did not see coming. I can't say what the show is yet
Yes.
because I'm not allowed, but it will
Well, we'll
drop.
be watching for it, of course.
But
We'll
you
be
will be
following you and
watching for
watching for
it,
that.
and I got my own episode, so that's really cool.
Wow.
And then yeah, I'm working on some pilots that are actually being pitched around. I have a huge heartbeat for kids content and really reaching out to children very early on in their lives to let them know that they matter, that anything is possible for them, and I think art is the way to reach them when it comes
Yes.
to that. So I'm like half activist, artist myself, but then children have a very soft place in my heart. So
Oh,
I kind of write anything that pays, that helps in a pandemic. What pays helps. But I
amazing.
write, like, as you said, I write plays. I have a play, Chicken and Biscuits, that was running. It's a Black family comedy of these two sisters who are burying their father, to find out at the funeral that they have a sister they didn't know about because she shows up. So I sort of write anything that speaks to me. And yeah, I use my own experiences and I use art as healing. Yeah, I like to be multifaceted and really just go wherever the stories are. I just want to tell stories,
Yes.
and be able to make a living telling them. So.
So, with all of those pieces and things coming together, could you give us a little insight into like your creative process?
For sure. So I actually started as an actor, and when we're not in COVID, I am also an actor.
Oh,
Um, so I was doing Beautiful, the Carole King musical on Broadway in 2013. We came from San Francisco to our Broadway transfer, and I actually started sort of writing backstage.
mm,
Is how I began my process. What I learned is I am most inspired by interviews. Like Polka Dots is inspired by an interview I found of Felicia Rashad on YouTube, where she's talking about growing up in the Jim Crow South and having a curiosity for a white only water fountain and tasting that water only to realize that it was the same water as a black water fountain, and how ridiculous it was that the world was trying to separate the races and divide our humanity. And that inspired Polka Dots, which is about a little black girl with polka dotted skin who is the first of her kind to move into an all square town and taste the square sprinkler. And she's being given the polka dot pump. So I get inspired from stories around us. When it comes to the writing process, I usually do like 10 pages at a time. So yeah, I'll hear the first 10 pages and learn about the characters and see what lands and what doesn't land. Because what
Mhm.
I prefer to do is save myself from a rewrite process where like you write an entire show in your room, you're like, this is great. And then you get to the reading, and within the third scene, the audience is like, I hate that character. And you're like, you have to follow that character for the next 70 pages. Oh my goodness, this is going to be horrible. So I usually do a page by page process. And that allows me to hear, be inspired, and then I'll have 20 pages and then we'll read that. And that's how I've built my catalog of work. So that's a bit inside of my process.
Oh my gosh, what an amazing amount of work that goes into that, and thought process, and how you have to break all that down so that it's digestible for us on this end and captivating. For,
The cool thing I'm learning with this first TV gig is so we're going into week 19. We have 2.5 weeks. I've been writing in this writer's room for 20 weeks by the time I
oh,
finish. But we know about the stories now, but nobody else in the world does. And I think that's the beautiful thing about art is that every moment, somewhere in the world, someone is creating art.
yeah.
And I
What would you say to whether they're younger or a little older, people who are aspiring to be an artist in some form, whether
if you throw enough lines in the water, something's going to bite, right? And so for me, it's been the past 5, 7 years has been writing a multitude of projects, right? And not knowing how they were going to come out and who was going to gravitate towards them or pass on them or whatever, but knowing that it was all coming from the heart. And so you have to be your biggest fan. You will be told no so many times. And so you really have to believe in the work and believe that the people who really understand your work are like they are out there and they will
Mhm.
find you and you will find them. You really want to make sure that they have your best interest at heart,
Yes.
that they have good spirits.
Hmm.
But you just you can't take no for an answer, especially if you feel like it is what you were meant to do. But I didn't realize that, 5 years later, all that writing I was doing backstage was preparing me for something I couldn't see. So
Yes.
just be open to all of the options. No idea is a silly idea. Write it down, put it in a box. Like you
Yes.
can paint something or write something and not share it with anybody. So being an artist doesn't necessarily mean having to be seen or to be successful. Sometimes it is just an internal thing that makes you feel good. And
Hmm.
that's actually enough for it to exist if it makes you feel good. Just go for it. I am flabbergasted at this year and like the blessings that have come. But I think part of that is, if you feel secure in your work and your art and you want to put it out there, don't feel like you have to be Beyonce to do it because there's that mentality too that like, well, I don't deserve to take up space because I haven't made it. Well, what is making it? What does that actually
Hmm.
look like? Right? For me, making it is moving audiences, not necessarily getting accolades from the theater, because those are two
Yes.
different things. You can affect change in a theater and nobody even know, but
Hmm.
see
Hmm.
it with the people, right? So
Yes.
just really figure out why you want to tell the stories or create the art you want to create. Have a vision and don't waver from it, and realize it's going to be a roller coaster road. It's not always going to be easy, but it takes time. And
Yes.
I polish up the scripts, have the paintings because when the calls come, you want to have the work on deck.
Yes. As my husband would always say, Douglas, be ready so you don't have to get ready.
That's it. That's right.
So,
Hmm.
as you said, just taking those things and really don't always have to be in the forefront, and just really taking things to heart and soaking up that experience while you're in that experience.
Yeah. Be in the moment, be present,
Yes.
learn and study everything. I watch going back to those great shows and seeing what made them work. If you want to be a legend of the
Yeah.
craft, you have to study it as well.
I just thank you for inspiring me and my audience that's here today that joined us. And you guys be looking for Douglas Lyons and great things to come. So thank you again, Douglas, for being here with us today. I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thank you for
Bye-bye.
having me. Thank you.